So let me start off by explaining what you guys are about to experience, right? So I've I've sat and wondered how can I really not just show off the cool people I know, but be able to use them for my own personal gain, right? To use them for what we like to call content. And something we all love is podcasts. I know many of people who have stopped listening to music and just listen to podcasts in the car now. So, oh, thanks for the follow there. But I know so many people who just listen to podcasts now. So it's just about time that I start a passion project of my own and get all the cool people I know, big creators, small creators, game devs, anybody to come on here and talk about pretty much anything. This is going to be gaming. This is going to be other entertainment like movies, TV shows. It's going to be comic books. It's going to be whatever the conversation brings us to, and that's what I'm most excited about. So, for this episode, we have a very, very special first guest. One of the coolest guys I know. So, he is a fellow gamer, but he is also an actor. You may know him as Young Tommy from The Butterfly Effect, Oleg from Running Scared, or his part as Alec in the Twilight series. If you're a true nerd or a superhero movie fanatic like me, you know him as Leech from X-Men The Last Stand. And with all that said, he's a very dear friend of mine. I love both gaming and chatting with him. So let's just get him right in here because I want to talk to him about so many good things. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please welcome Cameron Bright. Cam, what is going on, my dude?
Do the old unmute. That's
Hell
good.
yeah.
That's good, just hanging out. Thanks for the intro. I'm glad you could use me for the content, as you call it.
Dude, it's the content. It's all about making content.
No, for sure, though.
So what's going on? So this is going to be a genuine conversation because we haven't talked in a while.
No, yeah, it's interesting, too, because this is my first actual podcast. Obviously, I've done interviews and stuff, but yeah, no, this is the first actual, just like, I guess, recorded chat with a friend.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
like you said, we haven't played, we haven't gamed, we haven't chatted in a while, actually.
yeah, and that's why I wanted to get you on in one of the earlier episodes because I knew it would be like a genuine conversation between the two of us.
Yeah, it was good before we start ripping Anthem and fucking Division 2.
Oh
All
yeah,
those good
for
games,
sure, for sure.
No, but for sure.
Yeah, so
What do you want to ask?
yeah, I want to dive right into it cuz obviously the most I don't want to say the most interesting, but one of the more interesting things about you is the fact that you do something that maybe a lot of people want to do, but not a lot of people get to do. Like especially at like the level you've done it, and that's obviously like your acting career.
Yeah.
So I took a look at your like IMDb, and when I met you, I had seen only one of your movies before, and it was X-Men: The Last Stand. And because you look so different in that movie, when Green Skull introduced me to you and was like, "Hey, I got this friend Cam that wants to come play Halo or whatever it was we played that first time."
I think it was Lawbreakers, actually.
It was Lawbreakers. That's right. It was Lawbreakers
Because
he met you.
Lawbreakers, man.
Because he met you at the Lawbreaker.
Yep.
He met you at the event, right?
That was it, man. That was it. Lawbreakers, man.
Yeah. So
talk about that later.
Oh, for sure, for sure. We're getting into that. But yeah, I didn't recognize you, and he's like, "Oh, he's an actor." I was like, "Oh yeah, what has he been in?" And the only movie he didn't mention was X-Men.
Of course, so the only one you knew.
Yeah, so I had known you for weeks before you told me that you were the kid in X-Men, and I was like, no freaking way. So I had to IMDb it immediately, and there you were, and I was shocked. I was like, there's no way. So that was like my first intro into Well, I knew of the movie The Butterfly Effect, and that was the movie that Dan referenced you as all the time. Um,
Yeah.
so in preparation of this, I went through the rest of your movies, some of which are on my master movie list of movies to see. Um, and you have the does it ever like shock you to think back at like you were a kid and you worked with so many amazing people? And for the people listening, let me just give you a small part of this list of great names that he's worked with.
Pardon me.
You've worked with Ashton Kutcher, Robert De Niro, Nicole Kidman, Aaron Eckhart, J.K. Simmons, William H. Macy, Katie Holmes, Paul Walker, Chaz Palminteri, Hugh Jackman, Halle Berry, Ellen Page, Michael Cera, Anna Kendrick. Like, dude, like, you've got to have some stories in here for me of like,
Oh, definitely.
of you either just like
I thought
meeting
about,
these
like,
people.
5 right there.
All right. So when I looked it up in chronological order.
No.
So let's just start from the beginning. The Butterfly Effect with Ashton Kutcher and Amy Smart.
Well, I mean, the Butterfly Effect was kind of an anomaly in the fact that the way that they filmed it was really because we were the same characters. You know, obviously we were four characters. It was the brother, the sister, and then the two friends,
Mhm.
and we played those four characters within three different age ranges. The only time that I actually got to meet the older people, aka Amy Smart and Ashton Kutcher, was at one meeting because they filmed all the adult stuff first, then all the kids stuff. Or I can't remember if they filmed all the kids stuff and then the adult stuff, but whatever. So we actually met for that one. Like they lined us up and made sure we all looked like each other enough, and then that was the final. Like, okay, this is who we're filming it with. And I
So,
remember really my only interaction with Ashton Kutcher was I was like a nervous little kid, and I walked up to him and I knew him from that 70s show, and I was kind of standing in front of him, and I was staring at him, and I didn't know if I was like, I want to say hi, I want to, but I don't know how to, and he kind of was like, what the fuck are you looking at? I was like, oh shit, and I just turned around and walked away, and that was my interaction with Ashton Kutcher.
damn, that's like I feel like
Yeah.
Ashton Kutcher's like the kind of guy to like, like see the kids on set and be like super excited because like in actuality what he does, he's like a real like stand-up guy.
But this was also, shit. That was probably 19 years ago. Like,
Somewhere
like I
early
was,
2000s
I
for
was like
sure.
7. I was like 7 when we filmed that, 7 or 8. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I'm
early
26
2000s.
now. That was 10. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, because if
So
I
yeah,
if I remember right, you did Godsend in 2004, right? That was
sure. I don't
God
know the years of which it actually happened. I know the years of age that it happened, and yeah, I was like 9. I think I was 9 years old. So yeah, it would have been 2001, 2002.
and yeah, that's
Something
that's a
like
little
that.
weird reference to use too, right? Cuz like if the movie comes out in 2004, like when were you actually like shooting it?
Yeah, and that's the thing is most of the time it's at least a year before, at least. And obviously a lot of people go by the age of which the character is, but that has no reference as to how old the actual person is.
Yeah, yeah.
Luckily, obviously at that age, I was, if I was 8 years old, I was probably 9. I was playing 8 or whatever, right? Which was the case with Godsend. I was an 8-year-old, and that was kind of a play on the whole rebirth cycle too, the old infinity sign, right? The
Yeah.
8 symbol. So, that was that, right? But I was 9 when I filmed that, I think. And then yeah, I know I was 10 when I was in birth, and yeah, it was an interesting childhood because that's really all I remember too. Like I don't really remember much before my acting career. It's kind of really.
Do you remember like getting into it? Like was it like your parents wanted you to get into it? Like how does that like that's always what plagues me cuz like you're obviously are you too young to make that decision of like I want to be an actor or like
I
how did
mean,
that come about for you?
See, well, what happened with us is basically, my mom and dad split when I was young, and at that point, I was born and raised in Victoria, and we moved from Victoria up to Nanaimo because my mom and dad split. Mom had to move to a cheaper place, so we went to Nanaimo. Well, she was dating someone when we went to Nanaimo who was a golf pro at a golf course, and so my brother and me were with my mom at the golf course one day, and the owner of the golf course's wife was a local talent agent, and so the if you can, he's a little quiet. Who's a little quiet? I just saw that.
I
Am
think I
I a
think that
little
yeah,
quiet?
I'm adjusting your volume.
Probably
Go
I
ahead.
am. That's cool. But yeah, no. No, yeah. So like, where was I? Yeah, we came to Nanaimo and we went to the golf course, and the owner of the golf course, his wife was a local talent agent. She basically looked at, which is kind of weird, but that's a talent agent. Of course, she was like a grown adult, and she looked at me and my brother and said, "You have two good-looking kids. If they ever want to, if you ever want to put money away for college or anything, give us a shout, and we can maybe get them into some, little like Sears catalog, like little modeling, stuff like that." And my
Okay.
mom said, "Hey, want to do it?" And I was like 6, so I was like, "Sure." And that was basically it. I did like 2 weeks of little like improv and like kids classes with Jackie in town here, Jackie Casey. And within like a week after that, I had my first job, and it was basically you had headshots taken, and there's like, weirdly enough, it sounds funny when you talk about it on a professional level. You're like, oh, yeah, that's what you do. But when you talk about it, there's basically online casting books. So you can look up pictures of kids and adults and everyone all the same. And you can basically pick, like, hey, I want that person in my show, or I want that person in my commercial.
Basically, if you
And
need to like
so,
cast on like a physical level, like somebody
yeah,
needs to look
so
like somebody or
Yeah, so we had a local. It was our local, like small ISP and like telephone provider, or was basically merging with the big company, and I got a TELUS commercial where I was like a pixie running around in the background, and it was just they hand picked me off a website. They were like, "Yep, that kid looks good enough. Let's get him in the background," and that was kind of the start of it all.
so then so then how does one go from being in the background of a commercial to then being in one of the first things you were in TV first, right?
Yeah, like I was in small stuff. I was in a bit of TV commercials. I did a few commercials, a few little like flashback roles, as like the
But before you
younger
got the
kid or whatever.
but before you got Butterfly Effect, were you in any TV series?
I was in one, but I was a flashback, so that's the thing. Like I was in Higher Ground, I think was the one, but I was in one episode and I was like the main character when he was like, 7 or whatever, right?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So no, like I basically my first real well, I mean I was like I said in a few commercials. And that's the thing, like early on, the blessings come kind of quick and fast. Like, we had I by the time I was like 7, I want to say, I had already paid for a down payment on a house with my brother because my brother got into it as well, and he wasn't into anything really. Like he was in a few, he never made it past the final stage. Like he would always get the callbacks and all that kind of stuff. But we both were in an IAM's dog food commercial, like the very first anti-aging dog food. The dog food that you gave it to your dog as a pup, and it would make him last till he was 15 or whatever the fuck they claimed. And and that's the thing. It's like I he played the kid, and the commercial was basically him and his dog, and then they played it in reverse. So they reversed it to when he was younger, and so they needed a kid who was older and looked like the same kid when he was younger. So they picked us two brothers, And yeah, like that commercial, just because we didn't get paid much in front, but it was one of those commercials where in our contract we got a bunch on the back end, and it was a global commercial. Like IAMS used that commercial fucking for the year, in every single country. So early on we were like, oh, we haven't done much, but now we have a house for our family, and so
Hmm.
yeah, it was a crazy start, and that was really just from commercials, and then short after we were doing movies.
Dude, that's so sick. So how does like the butterfly effect come? Were you like hand selected for that? Did you go through an audition? Like
It's funny, I'm
how
trying to
does that
think
come
if I
about?
remember the whole auditioning process for that, and I don't. Obviously that was when I was super young. I remember being on set, obviously. I remember very select moments from being on set of that movie. And it's funny because, uh, you know, yeah, like I don't remember being hired on it necessarily, but I remember filming it. I remember there are certain points, like when the one scene where I'm filming and the dad cuffs me on the back of the head, Eric Stoltz or whatever. Which obviously at that time I had no idea who Stoltz was. Now I know who he is. Now if I could have talked to him then, I would be like, oh shit, but I was also 7, so thank God I didn't know who he was. But it is what it is too. Like I always remember we kept filming that scene when I ran up the stairs and he cuffs me on the head and we ran up the stairs, and every single time he was like, "Don't worry, like I'll just brush your hair, right? I'll brush your hair, brush your hair." Every single time they're like, "Yeah, it just doesn't, do it again and do it again." Well, the one time where he didn't just kind of brushed my hair. He accidentally fucking smacked me in the fucking back of the head. Well, they were like, "Oh yeah, that looked fucking great." And I remember I ran up those stairs and it hurt and I almost had a tear coming out of my eye. But it was one of those times where it was like, "Yo, like you're an actor, dog." It's a weird fucking mentality to have at 7.
If anybody got lost there, Eric Stoltz is the guy from he's from Pulp Fiction. He was in
Yo, I'll actually be right back in 2 seconds. If that's
sure.
all right.
Go for it. Yeah, go. So if anybody's lost, Eric Stoltz is the guy from he was in Pulp Fiction. I believe he was in a movie called Harvard Man. And then I think he moved on to a TV series in the future. He was on like Grey's Anatomy, I think. Things like that. And the only reason I know that is because I had to look through Cam's IMDb for info before this started. So yeah, that's who Eric Stoltz is. And while we have this little break, I just want to bring up for the YouTube viewers that will be seeing this not live. This is recorded live on mixer.tv or mixer.com, excuse me, /WarDogTV. There is no set schedule for the shows. The shows are just going to be
Yeah, sorry
um,
about that.
no problem. The shows are just going to be as to when I can get guests at this point. So there's no real schedule, but we can talk about that more later because I have more questions. Uh,
Yeah.
you got to tell me that you remember something about meeting one of my heroes, Robert De Niro.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I remember plenty about him because he at that time, like, even meeting, like, it was funny because obviously we knew the X-Men movies at that point. Like, I knew Rebecca, and Rebecca was kind of cool to meet because she was Mystique, and
Hmm.
Mystique's obviously every boy's little, you know, you know. But anyways, so yeah, it's just I met him, and I didn't like I'd never seen a movie with Robert De Niro in it, but I knew who fucking Robert De Niro was. You know what I mean? Like I knew, and because most of his movies were way past my age. At that point, I was still an innocent child when I worked with him. When I was like 8 or 9, I still hadn't been in too much crazy shit. Pretty much after that movie, it was when my mom didn't care if I was in a movie and if I heard swear words and stuff. But it was like that movie was funny to film because we had like a swear jar on set that if anyone swore around me, I got $5 because it was like a
Whoa. On
yeah.
top of the
I had a
paycheck.
racket, dude. I had a racket going. I had a swear jar racket. That's where I became. I was the biggest 8-year-old snitch ever because I would just hide around the corner and eavesdrop on people's conversations. And as soon as they said a swear word, I'd just poke my head out and be like, I heard that. And they'd be like, oh no! Like, and it was something that was backed by the production because technically they have rules to abide by, right? So they had a child on the set of a horror movie that was everybody else was adults. It was just me
That's
and like
crazy.
the
There's
and like the
rules they have to
and like the
follow.
Campbell's Chunky Soup Kid. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, they have rules for sure. They have rules that they have to follow with kids on set. There's harsh rules, very harsh rules. Like you have schooling rules where the kid has to be a minimum of certain hours in schooling a day, a maximum of hours of schooling a day. You can bank hours of schooling a day for other hours of schooling a day. There's weird little shit like that. Yeah, if they're a child, like on another movie where I filmed where we had twins, that's why a lot of the times they'll have twins play one character because you can only work a child for like 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day or something like that. So if you need to work a full 12-hour day, well, you fucking hire two that look the exact same because then you get a 12-hour day out
Dude,
of
you
two of
just
them.
broke my
You know what I
mind. You just
mean?
broke my mind on
Oh,
how
you've
they
never heard that before?
you just
Oh,
broke my
dog.
mind on how
You
they
don't know
film.
why. Yo, why are Ashley and Kate? Come on.
Dude, that's
man.
exactly what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was
No,
thinking. I was
like,
like, I now
no,
know
this is
how they
why.
did Full
Yeah,
House. I know how they did it now.
precisely. No, that's how you fill a full day of work is you hire two of them.
My
Like,
mind is
it's
broken. I
fucked,
now
but
know.
that's what
I have
happens,
insider info. I know
Yeah,
now.
no, but well, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things. But normally people know that shit.
Oh my god, dude, my mind is broken. Dude, you just turned my world upside down. That's crazy. I didn't think of it like that at all.
No, but yeah, that's the thing is yeah, of course they have rules, rules of hiring kids. Plus like kids can't work past midnight, stuff like that, right? Like you have to have the kid in bed, so on and so forth. So but that's the thing is like me and my mom, we were kind of those people that if there wasn't a rep, and that's the thing is most of these things fall under if there was a rep on site for the union, right? Because of course if you're in any good movies, you're in a union. You can't sign up for these movies unless you're in a union. If these movies don't abide by the union, they get blacklisted and shit by anyone who's in the union. So like you're always in a union, so obviously there's rules and regulations and things to abide by. ACTRA back then was a little bit more Wild West than like SAG was, which SAG is the union down in the States,
Yeah.
and ACTRA is obviously the Canadian one. So like yeah, I don't know. Back then we didn't really care though. It was one of those things where my mom was very much like I know now that I'm older, like yeah, me and my mom had our own personal things that we went through just being a mother and son, basically being forced to live and work together, you know? Whereas like that obviously causes fucking bullshit, but I know now being older, having worked with mothers and kids on set while I'm an adult or, a young adult, whatever the fuck you want to call me, um, I know that my mom was an amazing stage mom. Like she never got in the way of my career or anything. It was one of those things where she was very much so like if my son is okay with it, then I'm okay with it. But she always asked me. And so that's where we kind of like if, a couple companies are like, "Hey, like we need an hour or two more out of him," she would ask me, like, "Are you tired?" And if I said, "No, man, I'm ready to go," she'd be like, "Hey, let's fucking do it," and they'd, give me a bit of overtime, whatever for it. And, there was things like that. But, that's the shit that happens when you're trying to fucking make movies.
Pretty crazy, man. And Godson was like your first lead, right?
Yeah, that was the first big movie. Like, that was the first lead role, for sure. Like you said, that was the first movie that, at least as far as being a kid in the industry, I was the only child in that movie. That everything else, it was fucking the big star names and me, the kid star kind of thing. And it was interesting. It was a good movie to film. I have good memories from it. Obviously, I made a racket out of swearing, and I got like $500 out of the director alone. He was a
Damn.
British guy. I paid for my first console with that. It
That
was a
was
PlayStation.
that was Nick Ham, right? He directed
Yeah.
Godsend. Yeah.
Yeah. He just swore left, right, and center, and it wasn't like in a bad way. He would, he'd say this is fucking brilliant, like that. Oh, this is fucking amazing. He's just so British with his swearing and the fact that he uses it as a noun and an adjective. And like he just doesn't care. He'll say fuck. Oh, I fucking swear. Ah, fuck. Fuck that fucking fuck that cost me $30. You're like, well, just stop swearing. But yeah, that's just how he does it.
Does it? Do you ever just think back and you're like, damn, I was in a movie with Robert De Niro. Like, dude, I would
Yeah,
drop that shit all the fucking time.
so there was and that's one of the biggest things that I've always held to heart. Like it sucks, obviously. Like you all go through those periods in time, like I went through recently. Well, not recently now. Like I've been going through these past few years of like the rebuilding phase, and you look back and it's funny because when I was a kid, he had told my mom and he had said right around me that him working with me at 9 years old, I reflected the exact same talent and the exact same caliber as when he worked with Leonardo DiCaprio. And like that's something I'll
Damn.
always hold to my heart till this day, is that he told
Holy
me
fuck.
that when I was fucking 9, I was as good as when he worked with Leo when Leo was 16.
Dude, that's it.
And
Like, you
like
never have to work in
I've
film. You
met
never have to work in film again. You
yeah,
won.
yeah, I
You
got that
won.
compliment, right? Like, and it's funny because like I've met Leo. Like I was supposed to be Leo in a movie as a kid, and like I've met him, and we've taken photos beside each other before, and we look exactly the same. Like it's crazy, and so it'll happen one of these days. It's one of those things where it's like all these things. And Robert De Niro was one of those people too for me that like he's really, as an actor like me in the industry, he's a role model for sure. He's one of those A class star quality role models that like he does film festivals now. He does, fucking human rights, fucking whatever. He's loved by everyone. Yeah, he might have some bullshit, but he's never really been in the tabloids. Never really been that fucking like, oh, I'm this guy. No, he
He's a
just
real professional.
does his work. He makes fucking movies. He makes other people's movies happen. Like he is that guy that he does everything, and he was an amazing human too. Like when I met him, he was chill. He was cool with everyone. He was nice to everyone on set. He was. It was funny too because we had a scene where he had to drive, and fucking always remember when he sat there and he stared at the car like it was the first car he had ever seen. And fucking Nick was like, Bob, are you okay? Like we all called him Bob. He was like, don't call me Robert, call me Bob. And so we were like, okay, it's Bob. He's like, Bob, like, you know how to drive, right? And Bob was like, well, yeah, but it's been like 25 years. like, we're like, oh shit, man. Like, literally, you don't fucking drive a car anymore because he's always in the back, fucking on his cell phone and shit, right? Like, but that's who he is. He's a businessman to the T, and that's the thing. For me, growing up, I was like, yo, this dude is the shit. And after working with him, that was another thing. Is kind of like fast forward a little bit to Running Scared, where like a lot of the times when we work on movies, well, like 99% of the time, you don't really keep in contact with these people. You get kind of, and that's where it's weird. Me growing up, I'm used to really like flash relationships because you meet people like me. I show up on set as a fucking 10-year-old and I have 300 people that know exactly who I am and I have no idea who they are. Like they've
Mm-hmm.
done their research on me to cater to me as like a kid, but I don't have any idea who they are. So now in the next 2 months, I have to get to know who they are, and then all of a sudden after those 2 months, well, I'm probably never gonna see them again. And so you get in that weird relationship status of like you never know these people, but you get to fucking know them really well, and then you never see them again. So you have these like friends all over the world that really you know about, but you never talk to. And so Bob was one of those perfect examples where I left that set and I thought like he probably has no fucking clue who I am anymore. Like he was nice to me while I was there, and that's that. Like he told my mom those things because my mom was fucking asking him, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna fucking butter this chick's bread hard, because I can with a couple words." And I'll always remember when I worked on Running Scared, it was fucking 3, maybe 4 years later. And and I showed up, and the first thing I was like, holy shit, this is Chaz Palminteri. Like I can't wait. Like
Dude,
I'd already met
I'd shit myself.
I'd met Paul Walker and shit, and I was kinda like, that's all good, but you're a pretty cool motherfucker. And like and I was like, yo, like Chaz Palminteri, I was like, yo, this dude's the shit. So I was like, like I was kind
I'd
of
be like,
nervous.
that's the dude from the Bronx Tale. That's the dude from the Bronx
Yeah, I was
Tale.
like, yo, he was with my dude Bob at the Bronx Tale. So I was like, yo, I gotta walk.
Dude,
out,
that's
I gotta
true.
be like,
Holy shit,
I gotta be
that's
like, yo, and so I gotta be like, yo, hello. And I walked up to him. I was like, hello, Mr. Palminteri, and he was like, excuse me, Mr. Bright, you need no introduction.
Dude.
Bob has talked all about you, and I was like, like.
Dude,
What?
On what level do you get shocked from? It's like Robert De Niro is talking about me, and Chaz Palminteri already knows who I am.
So I found out that like Robert De Niro and Chaz Palminteri share the same offices. Like Robert De Niro has the top 2 floors, and Chaz has the bottom 2 floors. They're fucking best friends to this day. And I found out that Bob after he talked about me and he had raved about me, I guess. And so fucking fast forward to 3 years later, Chaz knew who I was basically without even really like, I don't know. So yeah, that's something I always hold to, like, yo, fuck you motherfuckers. You don't have that shit.
Dude, that's crazy. I wouldn't
Like-
know what I would.
Like, I don't care who you motherfuckers are in the game these days. You don't got that.
I wouldn't even know like what level to be shocked from. Is it like, Robert De Niro thought I was that great to work with, or the fact that Chaz fucking Palminteri already knows who I am? Like, Jesus.
I was pretty. I was pretty shocked.
And not to mention, Running Scared. Since we've met, I actually after we had been playing games for a while, I had it had come up in a movie of yours had come up in conversation. And I told my dad, I'm like, oh yeah, I actually play games with the kid from. It was the Butterfly Effect. I was like, I actually play games with the guy who plays the kid. I think it was like your character's name was Tommy or something. I was like, I know,
exactly. Yeah,
I
the
know
kid Tommy.
Yeah, I know middle-aged or kid Tommy or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And he was like, no way. He was like, that's the kid in Running Scared. And I was like, what is Running Scared? And he was like, dude. He was like, dude, like, go find it anywhere. I will pay for it. Just go watch it.
Yeah,
and I watched it, and I was like, holy shit, this movie's so good. And it was a Paul Walker movie, so I was in instantly because I'm a Fast and Furious fan. So Paul Walker was in it, rest in peace. So, like, but where I was getting at is that you, not only do you have the ability to say, fuck all you other guys. I was in a movie with Chaz Palminteri. I was in a movie with Robert De Niro. You got to do something that nobody else will ever get to do from this point on, which is be in a movie with Paul Walker. And
and
that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. It was interesting too because Paul was a fucking, like, at that point in my life I didn't really have a dad in my life. Like, my dad was definitely tried to be in my life, but my mother very much so kept him out. And for no real reason at all. But I was a kid with a mother who basically had lived like fucking consecutive hip to my mom for my whole career up until then. And I finally was in a movie with Alex Newberger, who was my co-star kind of in that, the other kid, or
Yeah, the
Paul
other
Walker's
kid.
kid in it,
Yep.
right? So I had a kid finally that I was in a movie with that I could fucking be friends with and
Fucking
have fun with
relatable.
and do shit. Yeah, exactly. It's like finally I'm not the only kid in this fucking movie. Um, and and Paul was literally like a big brother. Like I remember this was the first person. Like I used to get black and blue from fucking kicking my brother's ass on Halo. First off, first Halo, first
Damn.
Halo,
CE split screen.
dude. Fucking Paul Walker, P Dub was his gamer tag.
P-dub.
Motherfucker was the first person who could slay me 20 to fucking 2, man. Like he fucking rallied Xbox so hard. He had custom made Xboxes and everything. You can ask anyone at Xbox. Fucking they loved that dude. And he fucking loved them. He was a gamer to the core and it was hilarious cuz he was the first person that like I would spend most of my days in his trailer playing video games. But he'd always come in, and halfway through the video games, he'd be like, yo, fucking come over here. And I'd be like, why? And he'd be like, I'm going to shut off the fucking Xbox if you don't come over here. And I'd be like, okay. And I'd walk over, and he'd be like, give me 10 push-ups. I'm like, why? He's like, cuz, Cameron, you can't sit on your ass and play video games all goddamn day long. Give me 10 push-ups. And I was like, oh shit, like, really? He's like, yeah, like, I'm gonna kick you out of my trailer if you don't give me 10 push-ups. And so I'd do 10 push-ups. And he'd be like, okay, now you can game out as much as you want. And it was that, like, whole little thing of, like, he was almost being that big brother slash father, of, like, you need to not be a lazy prick, and fuck it, like, I don't know, it's weird, but those are the things that I'll remember of him, right? And like, I remember we went bowling and shit. He wanted us to do a bunch of crazy shit. He had his 3 friends. Technically, it was his brother, his younger brother, who doubled as him, and
The Fast and
whatever
Furious movie, yeah.
the Fast and Furious movie. Caleb, I think his name is. And so it was him, and then his buddy Roland, or Roly, and his buddy fucking Brandon, who was his manager. And those motherfuckers, like, I could tell you a few different stories. Roly was a dude who had his, like, not his index finger didn't bend at the second knuckle. And so he was always like, I was always like, hey, like, what the? I was like, why does your fucking finger not bend? And finally he was like, okay, well, basically I got it stuck in a mask when I was a kid playing football, and I pulled it out of the mask, and it was all fucked up and straight. And I was like, you know what? I think my finger's fucked up. and my friend was like, nah, man, I got you. It's just out of place or dislocated. And he fucking said that his friend grabbed his finger and just pulled it. And he said that he felt rip. And his buddy was like, you're good now. And he said that his finger never bent after that. And I was like, okay, cool. These are the kind of people that fucking Paul chills with. And basically, like, he was just one of those guys where he got his brother a job on set as a construction guy. He got his friend Roly a job on set as like a mechanic, kind of like, PA guy. And then his buddy was his fucking manager. Like he kept his good pack of friends with him from his childhood, and really he was a good guy. And it was fucking crazy. Obviously years later, yet again, he was one of those people that I never really talked to again. Obviously, I was pretty young when I worked with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was a kid, right? I was like fucking 10 maybe when I worked with him. And I could have met up with him, when I was in, like, I was spending time in LA when I was 17, 18. And I spent time with the director of that movie. And I could have chilled with him, but I didn't. And it's always kind of fucked with me a little bit. But I'll always remember the day I got the first like text message, when he died. And yeah, it was like, yo, have you seen this? And it was a fucking message from someone down in the States saying, Paul Walker dies in a fiery blaze of car. And I was like, fake news, right? And then fucking another person texted me and another person texted me, and it was kind of all over the fucking place. And I was like, yeah, like, why are people from all over the world texting me saying this shit, you know? Like, and it was weird hearing that. And it was funny because when I worked with him, that movie was, in my mind and probably most people's mind, his best movie he had ever done. Like,
It's one of
it
my
was a
favorites.
fucking, it was an amazing movie. Like, that was like, you're not curly headed fucking frosty tipped fuck anymore. You're fucking into it, and you're an adult, and you're making good movies, and you never saw any love for Paul Walker until he died. And that always fucked with me. Was when he died, there was fucking Facebook groups like, I love him. You never fucking heard about that shit before that. Paul Walker wasn't the biggest fucking actor. He was one of those people who, I hate to say it, but he almost gained, he, not almost, he gained like almost 100% more popularity when he died, which is fucked up. And that's, I don't know, it's crazy because I knew him and I knew who he was as a person, and it's fucked up to see that happen to someone, you know?
Yeah, it's
I don't
crazy
know, it's weird.
because I'd never seen the first time I'd ever seen Paul Walker was Varsity Blues, and then
Dude, fucking The Order, the Skull and Bones movie that he does, man, that shit's fucked up, dude.
was that
If
before
you've never
Varsity
s-
Blues?
Dude, if you've never seen that movie, it's with fucking oh, what's his fucking name? I gotta look that shit up.
The Order,
I
it's
got
called. Hang on, I
yeah,
got
dude.
IMDb up
Yeah,
already.
dude. I gotta yo. It's with that fucking kid. Um,
Order. I don't see it here.
2003. No, it's not 2003. That
2003
shit
was like Too Fast, Too
old.
Furious time.
No, yeah, it's old.
The Order.
The Order. Just look up Paul Walker.
Are you sure you're not
I
making
can't
shit up?
Dog, I ain't making this up. You know what's funny is I actually saw this movie after I knew him too, and I was like, dude, this. I don't know. I'm one of those. Okay, sorry. It's called The Skulls.
Oh, The Skulls. Okay.
Yeah, The Skulls. Oh, and they made a second one. But yeah, Joshua Jackson. That's that motherfucker. It's got Joshua Jackson in it.
What
dude.
year was
Like,
it?
2000. What is it? Yeah, 2000.
Oh, here
The
it is. The
Skulls.
Skulls.
Dude, it's a very underrated movie. They don't know about it. Like, no one really knows about it, and it's a trippy one for sure.
For anyone else who hasn't
But yeah,
seen
anyways,
this.
yeah, I haven't seen that.
No.
Shit,
I just wanted to say that the synopsis for the movie is a senior at an Ivy League college who depends on scholarships and working on the side gets accepted into the secret society, the Skulls. He hopes it betters his chances at Harvard, but the Skulls is not what he thought and comes at a price. So that is the synopsis. It's available on Amazon Prime Video if you want to pay $4 for it. It's going on my list, I guess. I can't not,
yeah, and
put.
if you're if you're a weirdo like me, it's definitely a fucking conspiracy.
Dude, I'm down. I've been
movie,
trying
and
to.
it'll trip you out.
I've been
It'll
trying.
trip you out.
I've been trying
Like
to.
you'll watch that and you'll be like, "Ugh, this is weirding me out." Like, it's basically it's just about the skull and crossbones, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I have like
It's
this master list of movies that like it's either basically movies that are on my shame list that like are great, like are like objectively great movies that I've like yet to see, or like things that are just supposed to like expand my palette, but I literally just put it on my list. The Skulls is officially on the list. Uh yeah, but did you ever get to interact with I can't remember her name, the girl that was like Paul Walker's wife in Running Scared? What's her name?
Oh, Vera
Vera.
Farmiga.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Vera was awesome, and it was funny too because Vera was dope. She was like, and it was funny too because she was also that like She was that like older chick that I definitely had a fucking crush on.
Dude,
Like I almost should have. Like,
nobody doesn't think she's hot. Like, it doesn't matter
dude,
how
well,
old
and
you
that's the
are.
thing is they all like that's the thing too is they have her in front of me and they're like, yeah, so guess what? You need to look like that MILF kind of. So like, pull that G string up real quick. And so she pulls it up right in front of me and I'm like, holy fuck. And then she's like, yeah, now you're just gonna walk in front of him, basically like aggressively kind of like show it off to him, right? Like you know, and like she does in the show. And so I was like, oh my god. And now I'm just like 10 with the fucking rager, just like, Jesus Murphy, what do I do here? You know, like fuck. But yeah, no, she was chill. No, she was actually really cool. We ended up playing soccer a bunch, and we were playing soccer in a gravel, like our parking lot, which is a gravel pit, and the bitch fucking got rough, and she tripped me, and I'll always remember because she threw her leg out, and I fucking like flew over her leg and landed knees first into the gravel, and when I stood up. I saw a fucking rock, probably like a quarter inch, fly out of my knee, and I had a fucking divot in my knee, and it just started spraying blood. And she was like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" Fucking next thing you know, we had to go to fucking. We had to go. I was actually pretty choked about it because I was kind of being a bitch about it, and it ended up being that all I needed was some stitches, but I didn't want stitches, so I was like, "Oh, just like glue it shut." And the glue is a thing where if you don't let the glue set for 48 hours, then it doesn't work or whatever. So they glued it shut, and fucking within the next 24 hours, Paul Walker and his friends asked me if I wanted to go fucking kayaking down the river in
You don't
Prague.
say no to Paul Walker and kayaking.
But guess what? I had to.
No.
Because my mom said, your fucking glue is going to come undone.
No.
And I was like, no!
Mom, it's
Why
Paul
didn't I get
Walker.
fucking stitches? Yeah, so I missed out on that chill. I missed out on that chill mode. I would have had a way better story about cruising down the river with fucking Paul Walker. But, you know.
But now you just have
I
a story
missed
about
out
how you
on
got
that 'cause
fucked
I was
up by
being a little
Vera
baby back
Farmiga.
bitch. Just missed out on that because I was being a baby back bitch.
Now you
and
only have a
fucking,
story
you know.
about getting fucked up by Vera Farmiga.
Yeah, basically. But you know, that's a lesson to us all. Just get stitches.
All right, dude. All right. So this is one. So there's obviously a couple of movies that like we have to talk about because they're staples in your career.
Are they?
Well, I would imagine that Godsend is a staple of your career, followed by and Running Scared. But dude, you got to tell me a little bit about Birth, because you actually got nominated for an award for Birth.
Yeah. Birth was it was funny because I think it was a Critics' Choice Award. No, was it a Critics' Choice Award? Yeah, it was a Critics' Choice Award. I think for Best Young Actor, and yeah, like Birth was one of those movies where like I think it's one of those things where you never really know how your mind grows until you actually like you grow up and you realize how you kind of your thoughts were processed back then. And I don't really remember much, but I remember it's funny because the way that I was basically trained to do that movie was interesting. Like they were the first movie that flew my coach Jackie Casey, the wife of the wife of the golf course owner who I had been with since I was 6 as an acting coach. Well, they flew her out and had her live basically in the same city as me, and
Whoa.
because they knew that she was the only person that had a real connection with me and could get certain things out of me. So in reality, when you'd think that Nicole was the first woman I kissed, I actually kissed Jackie that way, and Jackie was the one teaching me how to kiss a woman as my wife when I was like 10, you know. So like there's really weird shit going on there, you know what I mean? But you kind of have to do that, to get the
Weird.
kid into the mode. and you have to be willing, and both of you. I don't know. It's weird, but
So
that's just the
that's got to
shit.
be
Like,
that's got to be an odd acting challenge, right? Because
yeah,
you're a
it is
kid.
because I'm
You're a kid
10 years
supposed to be.
old, yet
Yeah,
I
you're
have
supposed to be
I
playing
have to.
somebody that has life experience.
Yeah, exactly. I have to be a husband. And so she had to give me really weird conversations when I was a kid where like I always remember it, as I probably should. She was like, "So you know how you love your mother?" And I was like, "Of course." And she was like, "You would do anything for your mother, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, definitely." She's like, "You know how you love your dad, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." It's like, "You do anything for him?" "Yeah." "Well, your brother?" "Yeah, of course. I'd do anything for all of them." She's like, "Well, your wife is someone that you would do more for her than any of those people." And I was like,
Dude,
like what? And
how
that's
do you
like,
even think of
it's
that when you're
like,
10?
yeah, but that's the thing is I don't know. I guess I just did,
I don't even know how to imagine that, and I'm 23. How do you get a 10-year-old to understand that? That's
I guess,
crazy.
yeah, no, and
So
that's what
I
happened.
have to
And so
admit to you, I have
that
to admit to
after
you before
that,
we
like,
carry on that
yeah,
I haven't seen this movie, but it's on my list.
no, and you honestly, when you see it, yeah, it'll weird you out because it weirded a lot of people out. I was, I was on national news. I was on, that was labeled as a kiddie porno before it came out. That was the first movie I had ever done an official press junket. We went to fucking New York. So I was actually in. It's funny. So when we did the press junket for it, we also were doing the reshoots, but we were in. I was actually filming in Shanghai. So I had spent 4 months in Hong Kong, a month in Shanghai, and halfway through my month of filming in Shanghai, they're like, "Oh, you got to go back to New York for like a week." So we flew from Shanghai to New York, and I basically went to a hotel, and fucking for 3 days, or it was the one day, there was a whole floor, and there was 8 different rooms. I think maybe 6 or 8 different rooms. Each different room had a long table with 12 or so reporters at it from different fucking news stations, whatever, papers, whatever. I went into every single room and talked to them about birth. Fucking like probably 200 different reporters in the span of fucking 6 hours I chatted to about the kiss scene and the bathtub scene, and that was it. And about the fact that we were filming a fucking porno, and that was it. And yeah, it was interesting because that was my first real look into like, fame, I guess you could say.
So how did that work with you as a young kid? Because like I gotta imagine production like pulls you over to the side before, and they're like, "Okay, Cameron, this is what you can and can't say. Like you can't talk about this, or like
At that point,
this
it's
is
funny
under
because
wraps."
I don't really remember them saying too much to me. I remember them basically, like, I guess I was just that witty fucking 10-year-old. Like, I was fucking killing it in those things. Like, I was saying weird shit. Like, the only ones stirring up the bubbles in the bathtub are the media. Like, I don't even know how I came up with that shit. I didn't. Nobody else did. Like no one told me that line, but I came up with that line in an interview, and then I just ran with it. Like, I don't know. It's weird. Like, there are certain things I can't really explain as to how I came up with them, but it's also the fact that from a young age I was learning texts, and I was reading and analyzing dialogue and conversations between people, and so I don't know. I have a very weird mind. Like, I eavesdrop on people. That's why I love public transit. People always think it's funny that I read public transit, but I love public transit. Like, you fucking, there are no
You're a
shortage of
people watcher.
characters.
You're a
There are
people
no
watcher.
yeah, like there are no shortage of characters on fucking public transit. Like, I don't know. It's one of those, and it's cheap. But like, I don't know. It's one of those things that, yeah, like anyone who normally has a conversation with me knows that I have a different aspect on life, and yeah, it's probably came from my career and everything, but it's weird because yeah, obviously I had a connection with the people that I worked with, but there were, certain things in my life, obviously, who know, like, shit happened in my life too, even as a kid. By the time I was 14, I had weird shit going on that had stemmed from butterfly effect and, just personal relationships that went sour. And, it's kind of the acting life. You kind of live and you learn through your fucking trials and tribulations, as to be cliche as can be, I guess, but it's just the way
Was
it
Nicole
goes.
Kidman at least cool?
Oh, definitely. Oh, I spent like her and Tom Cruise's kids, Connor and Bella. We always say Bella had a crush on me. I had kind of a crush on her too, but she was a year older than me, and Connor was a year younger than me. And Connor, he chilled at our house plenty of times, and I'll always remember the time I talked to Tom Cruise on the phone. And so I had talked to Tom Cruise on the phone because Connor had stayed at my house the one night, and so we had watched some movies and shit or whatever, and the next day, like, that's the thing, is I was a kid, and Nicole was amazing. She was literally, she signed my book, Another You're From Your Other Mother, Nicole. Like, she was fucking amazing. I spent what was it, St. Patrick, no, it was Easter. I spent Easter at her house, and fucking, she had like a basket laid out for me, just like she did Connor and Bella, and like, they were friends. They were amazing people. And I always remember we were going to Pier 51 or Pier 52 or whatever the fuck it is in New York there, that crazy pier where they have fucking bowling and, golfing, whatever the hell it is. Well, we were on our way there, and Connor is sitting beside me, and of course, I at this point, like, I knew fucking Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is fucking.
Who doesn't know Tom Cruise?
Fucking yeah, exactly. I was like, fucking Tom Cruise. But I didn't.
Show me the money.
I'd never put two and two together that Tom Cruise was his dad. I was always just like, Nicole is his mom, and that's it. I'd never met Tom at that point, right? And so it wasn't until we were sitting in the back of the car leaving that pier that the phone rang, and fucking Connor answered the phone, and Connor was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, it's all good, just chilling with Cam. Yeah, we're just leaving the pier. Oh, you want to talk to Cam? Okay, yeah, cool." And he's like, "Cam, it's my dad." And as soon as he said, "It's my dad," I was like, "That's Tom Cruise." And fucking, I grabbed the phone and it was like, "Hi," and he's like, "Hey, Cameron, it's Tom. Just wanted to thank you for, having my son over and everything." And I was like, huh? Yeah. And he literally laughed again. And he was like, "Okay, well, yeah, anyways, good talking to you. I want to pass it back to my son." And I was like, "Okay." And I fucking passed the phone back. And that was my first interaction with Tom Cruise. Like, I was fucking immediately starstruck in that fucking 2 seconds. It was hilarious.
Dude, Tom Cruise is a universal starstrucker. Like,
Yeah,
no
but
one doesn't get starstruck by him.
And that's the thing too, is it's interesting because, like, at that point I didn't know him and everything, and it was interesting because it happened again later when I met him. I actually got, like I said, that, like you said, I got that nomination. When I got that nomination, I went to the Critics' Choice Awards, and really that was where, like, like, I fucking met so many people there. It was fucking insane. Like, that'll always be one of the nights that I'll always remember. That was where I met Leonardo DiCaprio. I met, the fucking Power Five of the directors. I met Scorsese, all those dudes.
Oh my god,
fucking,
that would be
like,
my.
I was sitting, and so
I just got
we
chills.
we had arranged seating, right? Well, my seat was right beside, at the same table of six. I sat beside Forrest Whitaker all night.
Oh
Like,
my
me
god.
and my mom got to chat with Forrest Whitaker and his wife all night long. Like, I met Don Cheadle that night, and I met the dude who Don Cheadle played in Hotel Rwanda. So I met the dude from Hotel Rwanda.
Oh my
I didn't
god.
know him at that time, but now I know who I met, and I'm like, yo, that brother's been through some shit. Like, it's like, it's crazy to think of who I met that night, And one of the people that was there that night was Tom Cruise. And that was another kind of like Rob De Niro moment where like I met Tom and I was like, yo, first off, my mom was like, go down there and meet him because he was fucking up and he was shaking hands with everybody, right? And I was like, fuck it, might as well. I wonder if he'll even know who I am, right? Because at this point, all I know is I talked to him on the phone. So I fucking walked in and I was just like, yo, I shook his hand and I was like, "Hey, Tom," and he was just like, "Yeah, man, thanks again for taking my son out." And I was like, "Whoa, shit!" I was like, "You know who I am?" He was like, "Yeah, man," and fucking, I actually had an honest conversation with Tom for about fucking like 2 minutes there, and it was interesting.
Dude, keep my dreams alive and tell
One
me he's
because
at least a
I
cool
was,
guy.
I was like one because I was 14 and I was taller than him.
Oh shit!
It's the
Tom
one
Cruise
thing
is
I'll
short?
always remember. Dude, Tom Cruise, if you don't know that he's short, you're fucking late, buddy. He's like 5'6", man. Maybe
No
even
way,
smaller.
dude.
I know Katie Holmes. Katie Holmes is fucking probably about 3 or 4 inches taller than that motherfucker, man. That's why I never understood
Damn.
how he was taller than her in
I
photos.
didn't think he was that
'Cause
short.
I have met both of them in person.
Like when
Dude,
people say he's
how
short,
do you think he runs like
dude.
that,
When
man?
people say he's
How
short,
do you
I
think
think
he
he's
runs like that?
I think
It's
he's like
because he's so small.
people
That's
say
why
short,
he
and I'm
flares
like
his legs.
people say short,
That's
and
why
I'm
he
like, oh,
throws
he's
the hands
5.
up, man.
He's like 5'9". Like that's
No,
what I
bro,
think when people
he's
are
like
like, oh, he's short.
He's like 5'5",
Damn.
5'6". No
Okay,
joke.
didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a little guy. But that's what apple boxes are for, you know. But yeah, no, it's interesting because yeah, like it's been a long road, you know, and that's the thing is that was, you know, in most people's, and that's why like I laugh when most people nowadays, if you know, like at work and anywhere, if someone, you know, recognizes me, or if one of my friends is trying to fucking, you know, show me off or whatever, they all say Twilight, and I'm like, man, like Twilight is the fucking least of my achievements. You know,
Dude,
but
I will
like
say,
no one ever know. I mean, and I apologize to all the Twilight fans that are probably listening right now, but like, you know, I just like that's, yeah, there you go. Cheyenne, of course, Cheyenne will have
Chat
something to
just
say about
yelling
that,
out.
but no, but like, it was just different experiences, you know. Like I loved Twilight for what it was worth, and I loved that other shit for actually what it was worth. Like for meeting these amazing fucking people, well, that's what my other, you know, years were about. As far as working on a crazy movie that brought me into the whole fandom and famedom and really being a fan's star and getting to know fans, that was Twilight, and that was a whole different aspect, you know. Like I loved traveling the world and meeting fans more than I did actually working on the movie of Twilight. Like that was fucking dope, you know. And so like that was a whole different thing that I'd never done before in those other movies. Those other movies I was like, you know, I'd like shake hands with fucking the highlights of fucking Hollywood and be like all starstruck and be all cool and be like, I get to say I met them. But in reality, like I don't talk to them, I don't see them, I don't do whatever. I talk to fans that I've met. I talk to people that I've met all over the world when I was on my travels after that shit, you know? So there's different aspects, you know? Different,
So
you
while
know.
we're on this topic, I'll just clear up for anybody who isn't very familiar with your work that you were in, and correct me if I'm wrong here, 3 different Twilight movies. You were in New Moon, Eclipse, and Breaking Dawn Part 2.
Yeah.
And you played a character named Alec. I got
Yeah.
that right. All right, cool, dude. I've done my research. I've never seen any of these movies, so you're gonna have to tell me what is it like living the life of somebody who is in like a franchise that's basically was a global phenomenon. Like when in the age of Twilight movies coming out,
It was fucking...
in the age of Twilight movies coming out,
No,
you could
like...
not have a conversation about movies without it being brought up. And the fucking nerd
because...
war over the 2 guys, like you couldn't
like I knew all 3 of them personally, and I saw them every single day, no matter where I went.
And you're now at an age where, like, you know, you're you're more grown up than you were fucking meeting Robert De Niro. So like, you're
Well, and that's
having
the thing,
like,
like,
you
I
know,
just kind of, that was my time where, like, I saw what happened to those three. First person, or third person, I guess I could say, because I was really on the outside of that whole thing. Like, I was in those movies, but I wasn't in them enough to gain really, like, major clout. I was in there enough just to fucking wow some people who thought my eyes were pretty enough, kind of thing, And, like, so I got to see what really happened to a lot of people in that movie, and that was where it was like, do I want to do this? Like, do I want to be that fucking famous where I can't go anywhere and I can't do anything? And, you know, it's just one of those things where it's like, that was the point where I took a break after that, because it had been that whole experience of I worked on those movies for like a full, like between the three movies, I maybe worked like 3 months. And they took up like 7 years of my life because I was in the first movie and then the movie comes out the next year. So then we have to do all the press, all the junkets, all the shit in the following year, and then we go to the premiere. And then the next year,
you're
that's two
filming the
years.
next
So
one.
now in the third year, we're filming the next movie. And then in the fourth year, we're promoting that movie. And then in the fifth year, we're doing one movie, but we're also filming the second movie in the sixth year, but we're not releasing either of them until the seventh year, and then we're releasing the second one the eighth year, but you're kind of a part of both of them because you're in the second one, not the first one, but you have to show up to the first one's premiere. So like you were never not working for fucking Twilight for those fucking 7 years of your life, and so it gives you that very like, I was like, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And so I took the wrong time to take a break, basically, for me. But it was one of those things where I had worked my whole childhood. I dropped out of school. I fucking, when I was like, what, grade 10. So when I was like 15, 16, I dropped out of school and I was like, fuck it. I make more money than my teachers. And every single time I ask them why I should be in school and not working on my movies, they never answered me. They literally
Hmm.
just turned around and were like, clearly, you should be doing that rather than being here. And so I left and I didn't learn much from the people around me. And, I just felt like after years I was misguided and misled. And yeah, I was making all this money, but I didn't know what I wanted to live for and what I loved and what I liked. And so I wanted to take time off. And so I took time off, and it was perfect because it was the time that I needed to really figure out who I was. And
Yeah, it's really interesting that you bring that up because I've contacted a couple of people that are smaller time content creators that I want to bring onto the show eventually, just to like if one person hears their name from my show, it's worth it for them, and just because I just want to have a conversation with cool people, no matter how big or small they are. But it's interesting that you bring up you basically had in the eyes of a casual like a casual person looking in on your career, you had reached a point where you're in a film franchise that's a global phenomenon, and that was what actually brought you to the point of wanting to take a break. Whereas in the realm of content creation for gaming and stuff, like, that point probably fuels more people than it makes them want to take a break. Like, the success fuels the want to put in more work because the success gets addictive. And it's just interesting that you wanted to take that break afterward, because and it just shows that, like, even if you have success, no matter, like, the time is going to catch up with you eventually. Like, you're gonna want that break, you're gonna need to step away and, like, reset or whatever. And it's just
yeah,
interesting that it took the biggest franchise in the
no,
eyes of the
well,
globe in order
you
for
know,
you to cross that threshold.
what's funny about it is, to this day, I meet people who are twice my age who have half the experience in my industry. that I do.
For sure.
And what's funny is that's a huge factor. Is like I'll always remember when I was on my TV series that I did post Twilight. I was on oh, drawing a blank. That's always great when I fucking forget what my
Post-Twilight
TV show is called.
TV show Motive.
No, yeah, it was Motive. So Motive, when I was on Motive, we had like Roger Cross and Kristen Lehman and all these people and Louis Ferreira, who is one of my fucking heroes and one of the people as a friend. Like Louis Ferreira, I've been in a couple things with him now. He's such a fucking amazing actor, and he's just one of those dudes who's the underrated kind of B actor, you know? But he's an amazing person. And when I worked on that show, I'll always remember sitting at the table with him, Kristen, Lauren Penny, and fucking Roger Cross, and all of them basically have 20 or 30 years in the industry, and they were all sitting there talking about, oh yeah, we have this long in the industry, this long in the industry, and I was 20 years old, and I was like, yeah, I have, you know, I have 16 years in this industry, and they kind of laughed like, well, you know, we have 20 and we have 25, and I was like, well, how old are you? And they were like, oh, I'm 50, oh, I'm 40, and I was like, yeah, well, I'm 22, so that means that actually I beat you. and they all fucking looked at each other and they're like, whoa, you're right. Like
Think of the percentage of your life.
Yeah,
that
I was like,
spent
excuse me, but you're saying that you're 50 and you've been in this industry for 20 years. Well, I'm 22 and I've been in here for 16. Since I was fucking 5 years old, since as long as I can remember, all I know is this industry. And every single one of them looked at me and were like, whoa, that's fucked up. And I was like, yeah, fuck you old timers. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, dude, like don't fucking talk to me about experience or nothing. And that was another thing about Twilight that was hilarious too, was because I was always very quiet actor. Like, none of my movies really made it headlines in the acting industry other than, you know, Birth and shit. But so when I made it to Twilight, you had all these fucking people who were in nothing and then were in Twilight, and they were in the largest movie in the fucking history, and they were like, hey, I'm the shit now. And it was like, yeah, but look at your fucking history. And they'd always be like, whoa, man, you and him, and they've been in so much more. And it's like, well, yeah, but you've just been in one thing. Why do you think that just because you're in fucking Twilight, you're going to be set in stone now? Like,
and there's a lot of good, like, Twilight is a star-studded cast. Like,
but you'll notice how it got more star-studded as it went on.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
like,
you can look at the cast list for movie 1, and you know, fucking whatever it is, Eclipse is
dude,
much.
Anna Kendrick was the only one that made it out of there alive. Simple as that.
Dude, like, yes,
straight up.
Did you ever?
I'll be right back. Sorry, I have to
go
do
for
another
it.
BRB. 2 seconds.
Wow, he's just gonna ditch me like that. Can you believe that? Yeah. Well, I have time to thank everybody for stop laughing at me in chat. I have time to thank everybody for joining me tonight. The plan is to cover like a couple more topics, and then I wanted to announce when the next episode was gonna be, just because there is no set schedule, but I didn't have time, or the guest that's going to be on episode 2 did not have time to get back to me on confirming a time for the next one. So unfortunately, I can't announce when the next episode is going to be. I'm going to ask Cam when he gets back towards the end of the show if he's down to stay for 15 more minutes and answer questions from you guys.
Sorry about that.
Fuck it, let's ask him now. Cam, after we're done recording, so, like, I'm going to cut a recording after this. Like, we're going to keep going, and then I'll cut the recording, but we'll stay live. And then are you down to answer some questions from the chat?
Yeah.
Because I haven't been able to keep a close eye on it, but I see people talking in there.
No, that's fine.
So, all right, so chat, we're going to keep going, but you guys queue up questions, and then when we're done, I'll cut the recording, and then, I'm sorry to YouTube viewers, you won't get this, but that's why you should come watch live. And then
right?
what?
So never. I would walk out on Joe Rogan. By the way, there, Minolta. I'd be like, I have to take a piss, bro.
Dude, people do it all the time on Joe Rogan. I think the last four,
Yeah.
like, people have taken piss breaks on,
Yeah.
like, the last four.
I'd be like, come on, dog.
Whatever, I just had to kill time. Anyway, we'll do that at the end.
No, I'm just letting Minolta know. He needs to not say wrecked on your shit.
Yeah, I know.
People
Minolta,
do this, you know?
I'm going to have to bump Minolta's episode back now just because he did that. So, tell me, there's two, how do I put this? There's two celebrity crushes that are featured in Twilight, even though I've never seen it, that I have, that I need to know if you have experiences with.
Okay.
And one is actually going to contradict your point that Anna Kendrick was the only one that survived. Because Bryce Dallas Howard definitely survived.
Right, but that's the thing. Yeah,
if anybody doesn't know who she is, she's the
forget,
beautiful girl from Jurassic World, a.k.a. Ron Howard's daughter.
Yeah, like, I always forget that actually Bryce was in that fucking movie.
And
she wasn't in it that much.
See, I've never seen it, so I don't even know that. I don't even know how
Yeah.
much people have been in it.
Yeah, so, like, there's a huge thing about that, though, because she was playing a character, and then they actually fucking kicked her out, and they rehired it. They rehired the role, I'm pretty sure, if that was the one that Bryce
So her
played.
character was in more than one movie, but she was only in one?
Yes.
Weird.
I
I
believe,
hate
right?
it when movies do that.
Cheyenne? I think so.
Can we get
If
chat?
I'm correct. No, I know, yeah, that's like, they paid me to be in them motherfuckers. Yeah, boom, gotcha, yeah.
I hate when
I
when
was
movies
right.
do that, but I understand that, like, the industry is a real
Rochelle
world
Lefebvre,
thing.
no, so Rochelle Lefebvre played a different character, but Bryce Dallas Howard is only in one, or
I'm looking
the
at
other
the
way
cast list for Eclipse right now, and Bryce Dallas Howard is in that one.
yeah, no, because Bryce Dallas Howard is in that one. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, Bryce Dallas Howard was
She's the replacement.
recasted. Yeah, she was.
Oh,
the
dude, they
replacement.
fucking nailed
And
it then.
People were pissed. No,
People were
no, no.
pissed?
Yeah, all the fans were pissed. You can't do that to fucking fans. You can't do
Listen,
that to fans.
Okay, but
No.
sometimes you can get
No,
away with it if
Rochelle,
it's like...
dude, Rochelle Lefebvre was dope, man. Rochelle
Okay,
was
I
actually
don't know.
sick. Like, see, that's the thing. Like, nobody knows. They just went with the fucking big name after, and everyone was fucking pissed, man. And Rochelle was actually like, yeah, man. Yeah, like, that's the thing, is at the end of the day, it was a fan-based movie, and the fans actually really liked Rochelle Lefebvre. And she basically realized that and was like, give me Mo, Mo, Mo. And they were like, Mo, fuck yourself. And they fucking hired. So, we
Damn.
noticed too. Don't worry. We all loved Rochelle. I love Rochelle. I've had plenty of conversations with Rochelle. We had conversations with her at, like, red carpets where we were like, we miss you, dog. Like, we never got to meet that bitch. Like, just, it is what it is, right?
So was
It's
she
the
in the
politics.
original Twilight?
She was in the first two movies, and then
Oh,
the third one, they just
damn.
booted her.
You can't boot
They
an original
rehired.
cast member? Oh,
No,
shit.
that's the thing. So Rochelle
they
was
nailed
the
it with the
original.
recast, but...
Rochelle was the original character, and they replaced her with Bryce Dallas Howard.
Damn, like, I love Bryce Dallas Howard, like, but damn, you
Yeah, but
can't
that's a
do that to an
personal thing.
original cast member. Damn.
From a fan-based book novel, like come on, like.
Yeah, and like Twilight fans aren't anything to fuck with. Like, you can't
No.
fuck with their shit. Like, they'll eat you
Dude,
alive.
that's how I did my character research. Like, I found out I got the role, and I messaged one of my good friends who I knew was reading the book, and right away she was like, "Oh, are you Alec? Because you would make a perfect Alec." And I
No
was like,
fucking way.
"Actually, I am." And she was like, "Holy fuck! Okay, well, anyways," and then she just fucking went off, and I
Let's
was
get
like,
down to
"Well,
business."
There you go. Yeah, I was like, "Thank you. Now I don't need to read the books."
Oh
Plus,
shit.
my character wasn't anything like it was in the books. My character was actually fucking whack compared to what it was in the books.
Oh wait, okay, so that brings up another question that I gotta ask before I forget, and before I bring in my second celebrity crush that
If you're
you
gonna
worked
ask
with.
me anything about the books, I don't know.
No. I'm gonna ask you, how much does it suck to read a script when it's given to you?
See, that's I actually love reading scripts. That's probably,
Damn. Okay,
I
because I
mean,
hate reading books.
yeah, but see, that's the thing. I hate reading books too. But
Okay, so
scripts
it's
are
different
different. Scripts are way different, man. Scripts, a book is a
because
book. A book
because
is
like
everything
I've
on a
seen.
page. A script, like I'm writing a script right now, and I could send it to you, and I can tell you right now, you'd love that shit. You wouldn't want to read a book, but a script is different, especially for me. Like, I think that's the thing is I read books and they're boring for me because I'm used to reading scripts, which in my mind, when I read a script, I see that script. So when I read a book, it's just words on a page. When I read a script, it's an image for me. Like when I see exterior woods, dewy fucking forest night, I see a fucking foggy fucking forest and night, and then people start talking, and I see that conversation in that space. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but people see that when they read books. But I don't see that when I read books. I see that when I read scripts. But that's because I've been doing it since I was like 5, right? So that's I don't know. It's yet again, it's one of those things where I've always been asked how I act, which to me that's like a fucking stupid question almost. Like I don't know how I act. I just do it. I read a script and I see it. I read the text. I read the way they've written it, and I can visualize, or like, in my mind I can see or hear or feel the way they say it, or feel what they're feeling, or depending on the script. Obviously, if the script is written well enough, anyone should be able to feel what they're talking about, or see what they're talking about. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's one of those things
I don't
that's
know.
like I mean, I have to translate everything into gaming because that's most of my life. But like that's one of those things that where
That's
like
what it's like though. Like
it's
I
it's
could
it's one of
never
those things
imagine,
where like
you know.
people will like I try to give people insight, especially people obviously in gaming like we have ranking, right? So we have like there are ranks in games and like we have a system by which we can solidly tell who is better than who, right? Whereas in acting that's not really the case. Um but when people who are trying to get better at games that, I am okay or good at or at least better than them at, like try to come and ask me like, how do you do this? Sometimes it's an impossible question to answer, right? Because it's such a natural thing that over time of doing it over and over and over again, you just develop some natural feeling that kind of takes over your, whether it's decision making or like just how you're doing something. So sometimes, like, asking an actor, how do you act? Like, that's for some of them, that's just going to be like a second nature thing, like it is for me playing certain games. Like,
Well,
it's
yeah,
sometimes it's like the simplest questions are like the impossible ones to answer.
and as well, like really, acting. When you break acting down, it is a simple thing. Really, acting, all it is it's reliving, certain moments at the certain time and adapting them into what you want to portray. You know, So, if you're really going through a shitty moment in that scene, then you kind of have to think about the shittiest time in your life, and you kind of have to play that into what is this character going through and what am I going through? What did I go through at that point in time that matches this fucking, and so I don't know, it's a weird thing to say how does someone act, or where do you bring it from? Where do you know, because some people just bring it from wherever. Some people actually are fucked up, and that's why most people are, in my industry on drugs and alcohol or something, because they constantly relive their worst moments in film, and they basically just portray that as a different person, which, then people rave about, and I don't know, it's a weird life.
All right, so tell me about my second celebrity crush. That's at least in the that's at least in the Twilight cast. Uh, Dakota Fanning. Tell me about your experience with her.
It was funny. Dakota was one of those people that, like, I worked with Dakota Fanning, and then I worked with I worked with Dakota when I was probably like I was 18, 19 at the end of it, and then I worked a year or two later with what's her face, Little Miss Sunshine, Abigail Breslin.
Yep.
And
Okay.
so this is one of those things where, I mean, hell, I probably shouldn't be naming names specifically, but there are certain people that believe the hype, and then there are certain people who are just amazing individuals. And I believe that Dakota Fanning is an amazing human being. We didn't really talk too much. We talked obviously because we were beside each other in film and everything. But you know, her mom and my mom got along. But she was one of those people that like I truly believed she was on a different level than me. You know, because
Acting
we'd
wise.
always been this. Hey! What are
I'm
you
asking, is
saying?
that what you
No,
mean?
no. I just mean like individual wise. Like I didn't really have guidance in my career when I was a kid. I was just like the kid living in the industry where when I met her, she was 16. She had just graduated high school and she was taking her entry line courses for taking a 5-year course at NYU. I was fucking dropping out when I was 16. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, okay, this chick is clearly way more situated than I am. You know what I mean? But it's also the difference between a Canadian actor and an American actor. Um, but like, she was a real individual though, where when she walked through the streets when she was in Vancouver and she just wanted to go shopping with her mom, she didn't have bodyguards following her around. She wasn't that superficial kind of person. She just walked around with her mom and her tutor, and that was it, you know. So she was a really chill person, and I've seen girls who are in the industry that are way less famous than fucking Dakota Fanning, and they've got 5 bodyguards following them around, and they got fucking
She was in a
cameras
movie with
following them
Denzel
around, and dude, she was the movie with Denzel. Come on, dog. Like, but
and
you
Tom
know,
Cruise.
it's just one of those things where like she was one of those people where she was a regular human being within a crazy industry, whereas most people in the industry are crazy individuals in a crazy industry. That's all I can say.
Man, I'm more attracted to her now.
Yeah, she was chill.
All right, so
And the best part about working with her was she was underage, so she couldn't work past 12, and I was overage, and I was right beside her in every single shot, and we only worked nights because we were vampires. So I was paid for the week, and I would only work from like 9 o'clock at night till 12 o'clock at night. Because as soon as she left the set, I left the set. It was fucking
damn.
that. I'll always love her for.
Damn, you made out like a villain then.
Yeah, literally, I'd show up, work, and not even know I worked, and be like, "Why am I leaving?" And they'd be like, "Well, she's leaving," and I'd be like, "Okay, cool." Like, are you sure you don't want me to do anything else? And they'd be like, "No, you're good." I'm like, okay, cool. I guess I might as well just fuck off then. Yeah,
All right,
it was funny.
so this is the last movie I'll ask. I actually have a short question about one movie and then one more movie I want to hear your experience about. I'll ask you the short question first. Give me the elevator pitch, uh, and include experiences if you want for a movie that's on my list for a reason I don't know why because it is your recommendation. I haven't gotten around to it. Thank you for smoking.
Oh, what? And you don't know why it's on your list?
It's on there because you told me to watch it. That's it. I know nothing
Wow,
about the movie. I didn't
that's
even watch the
savage.
trailer because
Okay, so
I don't want to go into it.
you had said that I worked with William H Macy. I've actually worked with William H Macy, Sam Elliott, Rob Lowe, um, Aaron Eckhart was one of the names you said.
Yep.
Yep. So those are all in the same movie, and that's all. Thank you for smoking.
Yeah, I
So
looked up the cast, but I don't know what the movie
no,
is about.
basically, Thank You for Smoking is about a lobbyist. It's about a lobbyist for the tobacco company. That person is my dad, and I'm just kind of like his son who ends up fucking with his business the whole time. because it's that funny aspect of he is kind of dealing the devil's lettuce, you know? Like he's the lobbyist for the tobacco company, so he promotes smoking tobacco to the courts, basically, and tries to prove why smoking is actually not that bad, or can't be illegal or illegal, you know? And so then my mother shoves me into him and is basically like, you need to be a father and you need to be a role model to your son whilst trying to sell everyone their death. And so it's kind of like a dark comedy about that. And like, if you want to know how good that movie is, the director of that movie, Jason Reitman, went on from that
Mhm.
to do fucking Juno, to do
Which you were
fucking
also in.
Up in the Air. Well, I'm actually not in the final cut. I'm in the director's cut.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that detail.
Dude, they gave me a headline. Like, that's the thing, is that was another, like, that's one of the good things about my industry is most people, if you work with them, they like you and then they hire you on other shit. And so they basically, in Juno, like, have you seen Juno?
No.
Oh, well, shit. Well,
All I
that
know is
completely
that you're
defeats
the
the purpose.
RPG. You're the RPG nerd, which is why I need. I was gonna
Yeah,
bring it. I was
no,
gonna bring it
dude,
up in a
literally.
minute.
Yeah, look at chat. They're all like, wow, wow. What,
Listen,
you
I
haven't
don't
seen
know. It
Juno?
was just
Wow.
like what that movie
Juno's a
came
really
out in
good
like
movie.
2005. Like I just like wasn't
No,
like into
Juno's a
that
really
kind
good
of
movie. You should Juno for our age group, especially you. You're 3 years younger than me. Like you'll love it. Like it's our generation basically, in a nutshell.
And
It's really
wasn't and
good.
it wasn't the first time you worked with Ellen Page.
No, it wasn't. And that was what was funny too. Was actually, and Ellen Page for us in Canada was actually a whole nother thing because she was in the Trailer Park Boys, and she played like Jim Leahy's daughter, and so I almost had kind of like a little crush on her in that, and then she was Kitty Pryde, and fucking she kind of was all dressed in leather and running me through walls and shit, and then fucking we worked on that movie. Like it was funny, and she's really cool and chill. She's Canadian. We all us Canadians get along. We always do, you know. That's why me and Dan got along.
Man,
We were the only two Canadians at that fucking Lawbreakers event.
damn, it was meant to be then, I guess. Damn.
Right.
Uh,
And you know what? We were the only two preaching mixer there too.
damn. Feels bad, man. Mixer, you guys need more. You guys need
Us
more.
weird Canadians.
Yeah, you guys need
Yeah, and
more
I've
reps.
given up. I've given up. I've given up on the old mixer since then, but
All right, last experience to tell me about. Tell me something interesting about X-Men: The Last Stand because I
I
know
was
if my
gonna say,
mom ever listens
dude,
to this, she's gonna be mad that I didn't ask you something about fucking Hugh Jackman or like something.
okay, so
Tell me something about Hugh Jackman or something. But
I'll,
like
I'll
this is
tell.
the
I'll
movie
tell.
that everybody should
Okay,
know you
so
from. Like fuck you if you don't know this movie.
I'm
Like
gonna I'm gonna tell you. I'll tell you the stories that I have.
all right, yeah, I'm down. Because again, this is
So at
another
least
movie that you're
the
in that's
first
star-studded.
the first thing that I remember is coming onto set, and they were kind of walking me around. And it's another person that I worked with on Twilight as well was Daniel Cudmore. Daniel Cudmore was Colossus. Um, so I ended up meeting him first, I believe, and we were both Canadians, so we shook hands, and it was pretty chill. And I was like, "You're Colossus, that's dope." And I was like, "This is just a suit." He was fucking massive. And I was like, "That's cool." And then they were like, "Hey, go into the fucking makeup." We got all my makeup done, whatever, whatever. Actually, sorry, I should go fast forward, or sorry, rewind to the very first time. So I got hired onto X Men, and I wasn't supposed to work for like 2 or 3 weeks. Well, we had gotten word that they were working at the Xavier Academy, the whatchamacallit, the Royal Roads University is what it actually is. It's down in Victoria, right in my hometown. So we rolled down there, and we were going through the town, and we were like, "Hey, we might as well stop in on set and say hi to everyone." So we came into set, showed up, and I had a buzz cut, and the fucking director was like, "Hey, wait a minute." It was Jason Ratner, the fucking director of you know, um, whatchamacallit? Oh fuck.
He did
What's
he did Rush
Chris
Hour.
Tucker? Yeah, Rush Hour. Yeah, all the Rush Hour movies and shit. So Ratner, fucking, he's there and he's like, "Yo, do you want to be in the movie right now?" We're like, "Well, I'm not supposed to work today," and he's like, "Yeah, cool, let's do it." So, what audio cut out? Did audio cut out? Or is it not good?
That might be on their end. I see it on the encoder, and I think we're
Not for
good.
me.
We're good.
Yeah, she said not for me. But yeah, um, so Ratner basically right away was like, "Yo, do you want to be in it?" We were like, "Sure." So they gave me a quick buzz cut, and then this was the moment where I got to hug Halle Berry.
No.
Yeah, so literally out of nowhere, he was like, "We're doing this scene where everyone runs out of the academy and it's the end of the year. And you know what? I think it would be great if you ran out of there and hugged Halle Berry." And literally, like, we just fucking cruised down to Victoria for the day. We were doing something else. My mom was like, "Hey, let's pop by set." And sure enough, he threw me into the scene, and it was just to hug Halle Berry. Just to literally run up and hug Halle Berry as hard as I can. And I was like, "Okay, cool. I can do that." And fucking, that was basically my in with every black person I know. As soon as I mention that, they fucking are literally, they're like, "Yeah, no, you fucking win. You win." Like, that's it. It's fucking hilarious. Like, to this day, I can hold that against my friends.
Wait,
Like,
so
my
was that
fucking.
before or after you actually filmed your scenes?
That was before we filmed anything. That was a random day. Like, I wasn't even supposed to work that day. And we just showed up on set to say hi. And they were like, "Yo, we'll throw you into this scene." And fucking, it was the hug Halle Berry scene. I just got randomly
The
thrown
hug
into.
Halle Berry scene.
And then after that, we end up going. And I remember working the week later. I was on set, and I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. So
Dude.
obviously, fucking Gandalf. Fucking Sir Ian McKellen was the first one that I saw.
I'd freak out.
He was walking. He hopped out of his trailer with a questionably young man, and walked out and started walking. And he looked to his right and he saw me, and I was like, "Oh, that's fucking Gandalf." And fucking, and he walked up to me, and I'll always remember it, because he leaned down and he was like, "So you're the one causing all the trouble around here." And I was like, "Oh shit!" And he just literally, he was just like, "Oh," and fucking walked away. And I was like, "What the fuck, man?" Like, it was so crazy. But yeah, I guess I was, because I was the one fucking shit up in the movie, you know what I mean? So that's what he meant. But at the first time, I was like, I don't understand why he's saying I'm causing all this trouble. Like, I was like, what am I doing? But yeah, no. And then after that, shit, we filmed. That was the scene where we filmed with Vinnie Jones, and so that was another thing too. Is obviously I'm a soccer fan, so meeting Vinnie Jones at that time, I hadn't seen like Lock, Stock or anything like that. Obviously, I was like 11, so I'd finally seen that, and meeting him, he was dressed as the Juggernaut, and we were filming the scene where like Ellen grabs me out of the thing and fucking he goes running through it, and I was meeting Vinny, and he was very much like, "Oh yeah, this is who I am. Yeah, I play footy. Oh yeah, want me to sign a photo for you?" And he shows me the photo of him grabbing the guy's nuts or whatever, which is like one of his most iconic photos of him playing soccer. Was when some guy tried to check him, and he didn't want him near him, so he just reached back and grabbed the guy's nuts and gave him the old fucking twister. And so he signed a photo of him grabbing some dude's nuts basically for me, and I was like, "Oh, this is the Juggernaut." And fucking, and then I left that. We filmed that scene, and it wasn't like a week later, maybe a couple weeks later, because that's the thing. Obviously, I was only in a few scenes actually, like visually.
Yep.
And so the next scene was when we were escaping. So when like Magneto brings the bridge and he throws it on Alcatraz and
Yep.
they're fucking throwing cars and all that shit, right? well, I showed up on that night and my scene was set for the end of the night, but I was there really early. And so Osment Ratner let me direct a scene, which I thought was fucking awesome. So like when the ground finally hits and the bridge hits, and then the one scene where the soldiers from Alcatraz and all the mutants are actually running at each other and they fight, that I directed that scene.
No
So like I was the one that was like action, like fucking lights, like blah 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 blah, like all that shit, because Brett Ratner was too fucking. It's not Jason Ratner. That's the thing. It's Brett Ratner.
Yeah,
Brett
I wasn't
Ratner,
gonna correct you, but yeah, go
no,
ahead.
it's all good. It's Brett Ratner. I was thinking Jason Reitman because I talked about him right before. But it's Brett Ratner. But either way, Brett Ratner, he was the one, yeah, he was too busy texting his fucking lady friends on his phone. You know?
Oh shit.
But yeah, he was like, yeah, you direct the scene. But yeah, no, it was dope because that same night was the night that I met Hugh Jackman. And Hugh Jackman was the dude.
All right, Mom, get ready. This is the Hugh Jackman story.
It was one of those things where, like, we were like, hey, do you want to meet Hugh? And I was like, fuck yeah. So we went into the trailer, and at first it was very much like, hey, nice to meet you. Oh, yeah. And he was kind of looking at me all weird, like, fuck, like, and I kind of looked at him all weird, like, what are you fucking looking at me all weird for? You know, and he's like, yeah, take a photo. Yeah, we take a photo. And he's kind of like, fuck, like, oh, I know what it is. You've worked with me mate Nick. And I was like, oh, you mean Birth, right? And he's like, yeah, the movie Birth. And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, you worked with me mate Nicole. And I was like, yeah, I worked with Nicole Kidman before.
Shit.
And he was like, oh, I knew I recognized you from somewhere. I was like, holy fuck, man. Yeah, right? Trying to sound Australian. Sound Australian better when I don't. But yeah, no. Yeah, so that was my Hugh Jackman experience, basically.
I think you just
we met, and we took a photo. I don't know where the photo went, but yeah, he recognized me, and that was another fact of like, holy fuck, people know me.
I think you just made my mom really happy that you just like assured that you just like basically confirmed that Hugh Jackman is like a very good human being.
No, he actually is. Like oh yeah. He's fucking amazing. That's the thing, is I have very, very few experiences that are bad in my relationship. Like with acting, you know what I mean? Like most of the people I've met are amazing. I've only ever really met fucking 3 or 4 people that are dicks, you know what I mean? Out of the like thousands of people I've worked with. So
Man, I'm glad Hugh Jackman's a good guy because I can't fucking stop watching that goddamn Greatest Showman movie. Fuck, I love that movie. Can't stop watching it, man.
I've seen it myself.
Bro, I can't stop watching it. It's on HBO like every other night, and I fucking watch it every time. I'm not joking. I haven't seen a movie that much since Inception. I fucking love Inception, but I can't stop watching that goddamn movie. I don't know what it is. The music's good. It's got good actors. God, the Greatest Showman is just, it's one of my movies of all time, man. And I hate musicals. And I fucking love that movie. Can't do it, man. Zac Efron, Zendaya. God. Zendaya's my girl, though. God. Love that movie. All right, fuck. Well, I'm done. I have no further questions on your personal movie career.
All I can ask you about is Ngannou vs. Kane?
Dude. All right, ladies and gentlemen. The movie talks
I guess
over...
we could wait. I guess we should do the questions?
No. We're going to talk about fighting first, and then...
Okay.
Listen, we can do like 10 to 15 minutes on fighting. 15 minutes brings us to a 2-hour podcast. And then after 15 minutes of fighting, we can end the recording and we can do the live questions. Good?
I'm down. Oh, I'm down.
Nice. So chat, get your questions ready.
I need to actually look up the fight card.
All right. So So let's talk about the one that we know for sure, because there's the James Vick Paul Felder fight, which we'll get into later. But let's start at the top. Francis Ngannou, Cain Velasquez. Who's gonna fucking kill the other guy? Who's killing him?
I mean, I really believe that Cain is gonna stare the beast down, and he's gonna do his little head wobble, 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 probably throw up a right, and then fucking take him down. And
how old is Cain Velasquez? How old is that dude?
I don't even know.
Somebody get me an age look. I'll get an age look up on Cain Velasquez. How old is this fucking dude? I feel like
he's only 36.
He's only. I feel like I've been watching him for a century. What?
He's only 36. Supposedly.
He's 36. Ngannou's what?
Same age. Same age.
He's 36 too.
Probably not quite, but yeah, pretty much. He's 32.
Oh, 32. I was going to say Ngannou's a great-looking 36-year-old man. What the fuck?
Either way, 32, motherfucker. He's only been fighting for like 4 years or something like that. Like, he walked out. He was homeless until I don't know how that motherfucker was homeless.
I heard a story.
He was an eating homeless motherfucker, if you know what I mean.
I heard a story that before he became a fighter, Francis Ngannou lived in Cameroon and was fucking breaking rocks in mines for a living. Yeah. He was fucking breaking rocks. Do you know how hard that must make your fucking body? He's a living weapon. That's crazy.
He is. He's like I don't know. Like, the only other person that I would think tops him for physicality is that fucking Yoel Romero, your boy.
My boy. Like, Yoel is my boy, man.
Yoel's not human. You know,
no, Yoel is a fucking alien.
Ngannou's still a shred of human. Fucking Yoel is not.
Listen, I'm a very much a Yoel fan for the fact that I am 100% Cuban in ethnicity. Yoel was born in is Cuban as well. He was born there. He went through the fucking hell that is becoming a wrestler in Cuba. Because, like, for people who don't know, you go through shit to become a wrestler in Cuba. Like, you go through the ringer, and then they send you to Russia, and then you go to the Russian ringer. And then you go back to Cuba and you go to the Olympics. That's basically how Cuban wrestling
about that
works.
Shit too. Like, it's like you're representing your country every single time you fight in wrestling.
And the Cubans don't fuck around when it's an international stage.
It's like, fuck.
The Cubans don't fuck around on an international stage because they need to show you that, you know, communists are strong, or, you know, whatever the fuck their stupid mentality is. But anyway, besides him, I think Francis Ngannou is a freak of nature. I think Yoel Romero is a freak of nature. And even though he got fucking sniped, I think Alistair Overeem is still one of the scariest motherfuckers that can step in that ring.
Honestly, he is, because he's been knocked out by a few motherfuckers, and he's still learning, and he's still coming back, and he's like, yo, I'm not done. So I get it. He just can't get hit. If he can not get hit, he can still be a threat. He's just not got a chin anymore.
So
I wouldn't say that to his face, but, you know.
Let's break down, like, situation by situation. Francis Ngannou wins. He's number 3, right? He gets a he gets a title shot after this. He beats up Cain Velasquez on ESPN. He's got to get a title shot, right?
Yeah, but who is it now? Cormier? Cormier relinquished it, didn't he?
At which division? What weight are they fighting at? They're fighting heavyweight, right?
Yeah.
So that's Cormier.
But I'm pretty sure he wanted to step down so that Cain could take it. But that's probably only if Cain beats Francis. So I don't know.
I could have swore that.
I honestly think that if Francis beats Cain Velasquez, no one's gonna want to fight Francis. Simple as that. Because this is going to be one of the most hyped comebacks, at least for a heavyweight, in years, is Cain Velasquez's comeback. Simple as that. Like everyone is going to be expecting Cain to win this fight. They're going to think Francis has the puncher's chance, but Cain has the win, you know? And so it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, so at heavyweight, Cormier still has the belt. He relinquished light heavyweight, which John Jones has now. And then
Right.
So heavyweight right now is Cormier as champ, Stipe is still number 1. Derek Lewis is number 2. Francis Ngannou number 3. And
You know what? No. Dude, that's exactly what they're going to do, man. If Francis beats fucking Kane,
this is all to just give him a title shot. They want Cormier and Ngannou.
Okay, so if Francis, honestly though, I bet you anything, Stipe is waiting, and if they do Francis and Ngannou versus
fucking
Kane,
rematch,
Francis wins. Bet you anything they'll do the rematch.
Rematch?
Because Stipe is the kid who fucked Francis up, and you know that fight after he got beat by Stipe, he was not the same. And he came back, thank God, because I thought that was the first time I ever heard Joe say that a fighter needs sports therapy. Was watching that fucking Derek Lewis fucking Francis Ngannou fight when they were just walking around each other. Fucking, because Francis
but
Ngannou
tell me he's
wasn't
wrong.
throwing anything. No, it was truth. It was truth, for sure. I was saying the same thing. I was like, this is fucked up. Like, I was like, I get it. Derek Lewis has, like, a broken back. He doesn't want to fight you. But you should be fucking him up. And he wasn't. He was fucking weird. And he even said it after that, you know? It was, like, one of my favorite fighters of all time who never really made a splash was fucking Uriah Hall.
Dude.
And Uriah Hall was one of those kids that, like, he fucking kills people, like almost kills them, and that's what scared him. Like, he had almost a 5-year fuck up in fighting because he couldn't tap that killer instinct anymore after he clocked that kid out in the fucking Ultimate Fighter. Like, he saw what he could do to someone and he was like, that's not right. Like, and I was like, no, just do it though. But he couldn't do it, you know, and I don't know, it's fucked up. Like, I wish I could be a fighter, but I clearly don't have the, you know, mentality or anything, and I believe that they're crazy individuals that can put themselves through that shit, you know? It's crazy.
So, while we're on here, let me get your opinion on the TJ Dillashaw Henry Cejudo situation that's going on here.
Well,
what did they do?
I didn't watch Cejudo against fucking what's his nuts.
All right, so basically, I'll summarize
I watched Cejudo against Dillashaw, but I didn't watch Cejudo against
versus Mighty Mouse.
Yeah, so I know the first one clearly fucking Mighty Mouse won, and then the second one it was kind of just like a weird one, right?
Cejudo stopped him. He stopped him in like the 3rd or the 4th or something.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like a decision.
No. He beat him.
Oh, okay.
He beat
TJ,
him.
right? Yeah, not
Yeah.
TJ, but TJ. Yeah, okay. But
so
either way.
Yeah, so then TJ drops down to flyweight, wants to become champ.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I think that TJ Dillashaw trains like a savage. Like, he trains like no other does. And I think that because he trains like no other does for his weight class, him dropping down that extra 10 pounds did truly basically destroy him. And so he got tapped, and Cejudo caught him. I watched that fight, and Cejudo caught him, and Cejudo swarmed him. And honestly, like, yes, I'm with TJ in the fact that TJ, if you watch his training and you know what his training is about, his training is all about getting dazed and really getting rocked and then coming back and then fucking them up after. And the ref didn't give him that chance to get truly fucked up and come back. He got dazed and he got swarmed, and you could argue, but it wasn't he was fucking out.
So according to Dillashaw,
in my mind, at
which
least,
he's been to Dillashaw's defense, what he has been claiming since the fight was that he got hit with a behind the ear hook. which I went back and watched. And
Yeah, I mean it is. It
and
clips him on the back of the head,
true.
like it does.
So,
but
so
it's
that's completely.
it's not an intentional.
No, no, no.
Fucking,
So,
like,
so behind the ear in UFC is completely legal. Behind the ear isn't considered behind the head.
Yeah,
so,
no, it isn't. It
so
isn't. It has to be intentional in the UFC. In reality, like it has to be called by the ref. Like that's the thing is if you turn around while I throw a roundhouse kick and I kick you square in the fucking back of the neck, that's not my fault. That would be called a legal kick. But you're really kicking the dude in the back of the fucking neck. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's that fine line, right? Where,
Yeah.
But they were actively engaging, and fucking TJ, I would say, dipped. Sorry.
But my point being with the TJ thing is that, like, he admits that he got caught on the back of the ear. Like, he admits that. But what I don't understand, because I'm not a fighter, is what that does to a person. And apparently what he's been claiming and what a lot of people back him up with is the fact that when you get punched in the back of the ear, you're not rocked. It messes your equilibrium
spot. Up. Yeah, and that's the thing is it's a pressure point.
So he was trying,
like, I could pretty much, if you know where it is, you can pretty much like tap the person there, and it will, like, you'll kind of like have a little shock through your body. Like it's a pressure point. And so that's why, like I was saying, right, is TJ's one of those guys where he'll take that shit and he'll fucking flop around and wobble around just like what's his face? God damn it.
Give me something to work with here.
Blew his MCL. Oh, Ferguson. Tony Ferguson.
It's
like Tony Ferguson. Like, that motherfucker gets hit. He gets rocked. He starts doing front flips.
He's a fucking animal, though.
You know what I mean? Like, but that's how he handles that. Like, oh, my legs are giving out. I might as well just roll into it and give them a chance to fucking, get back, right? Like, they just, I don't know. It's one of those things where certain people train for that. And that's TJ, like I said, in his defense. He trains for that. He trains to get rocked and come back. And that's where I was saying where, yeah, you can say visibly he looked like he was rocked. He looked like, oh, my legs are giving out, blah, 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 blah. But he was fighting back. As soon as, like, there wasn't a point where his eyes rolled into the back of his head or anything. It was just purely he dropped and Cejudo swarmed him. And the referee definitely called it early for a swarm. Because if you watch the slow-mo, half of the shots hit him in the shoulders and the fucking neck. They don't even hit him in the head. So, like, yeah, it was an early call. I called it an early call at the end of the day.
Yeah, so, like...
I'm not a huge TJ fan, by the way.
I'm not a huge TJ fan either.
I think he's an animal.
I think I'm more. I actually think I'm more of a fan after this loss than I ever was before. But to his defense, he was never out of it. And just imagine what that pressure is like when some dude literally takes your legs out from fucking under you. But imagine what it's like.
10 pounds down. Like, you have to realize too. Okay, so what I know now is you're a jiu-jitsu guy as well. I work with a jiu-jitsu guy now, and I've learned a lot through him, through his knowledge. And the fact of the matter is when you drop weight, all you're doing is you're sucking the extra moisture out of your body. All of these fighters, like TJ's cut at fucking whatever weight he fights at. What is it, 135 or 125?
He's the 135 champ.
Yeah, so he went down to 125 or 115.
125.
Right? 125. So he is cut. Like, he's probably 5% body fat at fucking 125 or 135. Then he went down to 125. What that does is, what people don't realize is you have a moisture membrane and a mucus membrane and a fat membrane in your fucking brain, in your skull. Moisture and water is all around you. So when you sap that moisture out of you and you cut weight, you are sapping the protection out of your brain. So all of those pressure points now are much more sensitive. They're much more like, you tap that and there's no fat blocking that punch. You're fucking hitting that pressure point right on the spot. You know, so like someone like TJ, who's a fucking apex athlete at his weight class, to actually drop that 10 pounds probably did him way more damage than he'll ever know. You know what I mean? Like, he might not even realize that him getting tapped on the head like that might have for him been a regular thing. But at that weight, it might have actually fucked him up for the rest. He might have a glass jaw from now. Like, you don't know. You know, like, that's how fucked up dropping weight is for these guys, right? So that's a whole nother aspect that no one's even thinking about. Is that this guy basically dehydrated himself just to make a buck, and now everyone's hating on him because he got knocked out, because he was basically dehydrated to the point where he's just muscle, you know, which isn't good. It's not healthy.
I don't think everybody's hating on him. I think people feel
Well,
bad
I'm not
for
saying
him,
hating
but
on
like,
it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it's
get what
just
you
that
mean.
fact that like people don't understand the realities of what these dudes are putting their bodies through. Simple as that.
So
you know,
for
or
the
females
record,
as well, not just dudes.
So for the record, he did go on the Joe Rogan podcast and talk about this and about his weight cut. What he claims is that he's never felt better before a fight than he did this one, even with dropping the extra 10 pounds. And he even went as far as letting out what his fat percentage was when he weighed in. So he weighed in at 125, and I believe he was at like 3% body fat or something like that.
Yeah, like that's insane.
And
man.
that's
not good.
So
dude.
that's the weigh in the day before.
So I told you, I was like, he was probably at 5% at 135.
So that's the
fucking like. Jesus.
Wait. So that's the weigh in the day
insane.
before, and then he. So this is all what he claims. So I don't.
Yeah,
obviously, I don't know anything
right.
for fact, but that he then went on to talk about how overnight, because the weigh-ins are the day before the fight.
They can eat as much as they want.
He rehydrated and walked into the ring at 145 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, it is doable for sure.
And he
like,
said he felt
crazy.
great.
Like,
yeah, but what he's saying,
yeah,
and that a lot of fighters,
if you're
what he's saying that
20 pounds, you're not fucking feeling great.
What he's saying that a lot of fighters are backing him up on, though, is the fact that getting clipped behind the ear really doesn't take you out of the fight. It just knocks your equilibrium out. And to his defense, he's got a full-grown man trying to finish him while he can't even get his legs out from under him, but he's all there, and the ref just isn't giving him a chance.
No, the ref, like I said earlier, the ref didn't give him the chance, and that's what it was, is he got rocked, and it was a scramble and a flurry. And he did never once was he rocked. He got clipped, he fumbled, and that was it. You know, his eyes didn't roll back, his arms never were not protecting, he was never not grabbing for a limb. Like there was, it was too soon. And it definitely it warrants a rematch, and I would say a rematch at 135 and fucking.
So you want them to go back? So you want to give Cejudo the chance to be champ? You want to give him the 135 shot?
I think that's no. Well, what I think is that's the only realistic fight that they will do, because that's another aspect of the new age of the UFC. Is the new age of the UFC is now owned by an acting, music management company. So
you know what they need to do?
Biggest money ever. So
what they
every
need
single
to
time they want to break records. Every single show they want to break records. Do you know how they do that? Being the champ of every division.
You know what they? Yeah, but you know what they can do that they won't do?
Two divisions.
You know what they can do that they won't do, and what they need to do is you have this problem, right? Henry Cejudo got, arguably a cheap win. Do you give him the chance to be champ now at 135, or do you have the rematch at 125? I think what you do in this new age of UFC that's really just trying to sell pay-per-views and put on the best show, which they should be, is you have them both sign a fucking contract. They meet in the middle at fucking 130, and they put both belts on the fucking line, and whoever wins becomes champ. But I don't even know why TJ wants to be flyweight champ, because there's nobody in that fucking division anymore. That division's dead, and it should go away.
I feel so bad for those, and that's what I don't understand.
Can you name anybody in flyweight besides Henry Cejudo and Ray Borg? I can't name a single person.
Okay, Do you know what I find is funny? Don't you think it's funny that they have like 5 weight divisions in the lowest and only 3 in the highest? Where I feel like it needs to be the opposite. You know what I mean? Like all we need is like a 115, a 135, maybe even not even that, like a 120, a 135, and then you have your one fucking 35, your one fucking, your 155, and then what we need is you need a breaker in between middleweight and light heavyweight because it's the fucking worst division ever, and you need a division in between welterweight and middleweight because yet again it's the worst division ever.
What they need
Like,
is to add back in super middleweight, which was a 195 division.
yeah, exactly. You need something in between light heavyweight and like you can't, like, that's
You
the
can't go
worst
from
thing ever.
185 to
You
205. It's too much.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
They
And
need
then you
super
go from
middleweight,
205 to
195.
265. Dope. Like, so you have dudes
Well,
like Brock
they used
Lesnar
to-
who
they
are
used-
400 walking around that
They
drop
used to have
down.
they used to
and
have a
then you have
fucking
fucking-
cruiserweight, dude. They used to have
Well,
a
no,
225.
Technically, other
And they took it away.
other organizations even have extreme heavyweights. They have plus fucking 260.
Yeah, super heavyweight.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
plus
Yeah,
260,
super heavyweight,
265
man.
plus.
Yeah, 265 plus. And I think that should be a thing too. Because then you have those like literal monsters, then they don't have to cut as much weight. And then yet again, you're just, I don't know. I don't think cutting weight should be a thing. I believe that cutting weight should only have to be a thing if you yourself choose to try and take on that advantage. You know what I mean? Like, because that's what it is.
But people will do
like,
that. No one's going to fight at their walking
But
weight.
that's what I mean. You
let's say,
should make all these weight classes healthy enough for fucking people to actually make that step down, rather than being like, yo, you have to be, killing yourself to fucking make the step down. Because it's just everyone's gonna do it anyways. Why are you trying to kill each other to fucking just do it? Just
Like
make
if-
weight
like if
classes
I
that are
walk ar-
acceptable.
like if I walk around at 185, like 185 middleweight, you bet your fucking ass I'm trying to either go to 170 or I'm trying to go to fucking 155 if that's what my body will let me do. Because
See,
when
that's
I
what I mean, is
rehydrate
that's
the next
crazy
night, I
because-
want that 8-pound advantage, that 11-pound advantage.
Dude, it's like not Dong Young Kim. It's fucking that one North Korean kid or South Korean kid, I guess I should say.
The North Korean kid.
Yeah, none of them get in.
Are you talking about the zombie kid or whatever?
No,
The Korean zombie?
no. Fuck, what's his name? He's welterweight. That's like 6'5", and I always remember the day Brian Stan was fucking introducing him, and he said that he weighed in at like 175, and the next day. So he weighed in at like 6 o'clock, or no, he weighed in at 9 in the morning, and by 6 o'clock that night, he was up to like 190 or something.
Yeah, dude.
Like that.
It's fucking crazy.
Because he's just some 6'6" beast who fucking cuts like 40 pounds every single time he fights.
It's crazy. All right, man. Well, let's start wrapping this up. Give me just really quick, no explanation. Give me your prediction, Ngannou Velasquez, and then give me your solution for this fucking Dillashaw Cejudo mess.
Oh God. What do I really think is gonna happen with Ngannou Velasquez?
Somebody's dying.
Honestly, I think Velasquez is gonna have it. I want to say round 1, but I'll say Velasquez is gonna ground and pound round 2. I and that's the funny thing is I don't. No. I'll say safely with that. I think he's gonna fucking take him down. He might not ground and pound him out. Nah, like that's so hard. I just want to go either way. Velasquez. I have Velasquez to win that by ground and pound. I don't know which round. If it's not the first, it's gonna be the second. Simple as that. I think if Velasquez can do his bob and weave, and I think he's gonna do that. I think he's just gonna come out, and I think that's what he should do. And what's funny is Cormier is gonna be teaching him and coaching him basically and partnering him, and he's gonna say, "Get the fuck in his face," and I think that's what he needs to do. Is as soon as they pull them in to do the fucking handshake, I don't think Velasquez should leave until the fucking ref tells him to back up. And as soon as the ref tells him to back up, as soon as he says go, Velasquez should just run straight into him. And he's just going to fucking take his legs and take him down and beat the shit out of him. So I would say first round. If not first, it's going to be the second. And it's going to be Kane. I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything out of fucking Ngannou that says otherwise. It's gonna be the puncher's chance, the uppercut. Like if he can time the uppercut and hit him, or if he can jab and uppercut, but it's gonna be an uppercut, uppercut, uppercut. That's all his game plan is uppercut, because we all know what Kane's gonna do. So that's that.
And then
Cejudo.
Yeah, TJ Cejudo. What do you want?
I think I need the 135 because Cejudo thinks he's the GOAT, so he's ready to do whatever. And I think TJ is kind of the GOAT right now at fucking 135. And I think him in his perfect camp will have the defense and probably the movement to fucking, fuck him up. But I would actually put Cejudo as the winner, just because I think Cejudo's riding that wave where he beat the unbeatable, who has beaten TJ, and now he thinks and knows he can beat him. So we'll see. Interesting times. I'm more worried about Jones and Lionheart, because I think fucking that's like, I really like Anthony Smith, and I it's a tall task, but I want Anthony Smith to fucking take down John Jones. I'd really love John Jones to get knocked out by someone, but I don't think it's gonna happen. No. But I want it to happen. Like I don't want to jinx him by saying it will, because I don't think it will. But I would love to see John Jones get knocked out. Simple as that. Because John Jones needs to get knocked out to really truly become great. Because John Jones hasn't been beaten yet. He's been put in jail and he's been fucking tried and shit, but he hasn't been beaten, and that's where his cockiness comes from. I fucking hate it.
Listen, it was just a couple picograms, all right? It wasn't anything serious.
I went in there.
All right, guys, that's gonna be it for us. Cam, thanks for doing this, dude.
Thank you.
It was fun.
Thank you. Sorry if I went in too much or whatever.
No. It was good. I was worried that I was gonna have to work this a lot. But the only parts I had to work was when you ditched me. But besides that, thanks for doing this. Let's do it. Let's do it again.
No worries.
Let's do it again. I'm
down. Season 2.
Season 2? What? You're gonna wait a whole season? Damn. What do you think? I got that? You think I got that many friends that I can bring on?
If you ever want to do any fight anything, man, I'm always down.
Hell yeah, dude. All right. Well, that's gonna be it for us, guys. Thanks for joining and watching live. Everybody,
I might stream in a bit here. Sorry, I totally just cut
trying to do my sign off and you fucking cut me off,
Jesus
dude.
Christ.
Don't you work in the entertainment industry?
This.
God,
rookie over here. Oh, shut up.
Okay, guys, thanks for joining. Everybody who's watching on YouTube, thank you for watching on YouTube. If you guys want to catch the show live, it's over on mixer.com/WardogTV. There's where you can find all the extensions to my social media. You got Cam's social media, his Twitch stream down below, his picture right there on your screen. And that's all I got. Cam, thanks for doing this again. We'll catch all you crazy motherfuckers later. And thanks for watching. Boy!
Yeah, no